All righty. So let's start with internship questions for Raytheon. The Internship Champion Award recognizes companies that scale opportunities. Cece, can you discuss how Raytheon Technologies has worked to scale internship opportunities for NAF students?
Sure. So at Raytheon Technologies, we have over 180,000 employees worldwide. And so when we're thinking about scale and starting to build the STEM talent pipeline, that is a big focus for us. In the past, where we had internships, we would have intermittent internships in different high schools, which really didn't scale. So back in 2020, we launched the first Future Ready Lab. And this is where in Hartford, Connecticut, we had 17 students where we partnered with NAF. They were paid internships, and it was in person. That same year in 2020, as everybody knows about the pandemic and working from home, we also partnered with NAF to kick off the Future Ready Engineers program, which had over 100 NAF students. It was a summer-long program. It ranged from Hawaii to Miami. It was in 2 languages, and that allowed our employees in the country to be able to engage virtually to provide sessions and to also provide internships. And just this year in 2022, we have over 200 NAF student internships. And even beyond that, where Raytheon Technologies is looking to scale, is we have 800 students this summer, both virtually and in person, and we're also partnering with other organizations like Girls Who Code and SMASH.
Fabulous. So how do internships support your talent pipeline, Cece?
Well, traditionally, when you think about internships of the past, they're typically when students are in college and they've already selected their pathway and what their major is. And one of the things that we're doing is trying to partner with NAF to get early into the high school career. So that way, high school students can start to see what is possible, strike that inspiration to continue learning in STEM and taking a career in STEM. And, the other thing that we're focused on too is really knocking down those barriers when it comes to female students and students of color who are underrepresented. Getting those high school internships in place starts to open up those doors and ultimately leads to employment down the road.
Wonderful. So you mentioned all the partners that Raytheon partners with. Why does Raytheon Technology partner with NAF to provide these opportunities?
So NAF has a unique model where it's bringing together instruction with industry, so that business and education. So when you think about teachers, and I know there's a lot of teachers in the audience here today, there is such a heavy lift in helping prepare these students who are innovators of the future, who are leaders of the future. And so by working with NAF, we're able to help shape that early on and also reach out to the communities and help out with the students who are in most need of this type of education.
Thank you, Cece. Abby, last year we honored Verizon with this same award. Can you talk about Verizon's history providing internships to NAF students?
Absolutely. Thank you, Liz. And first, congrats, Cece, and congrats to the Raytheon organization and company for this amazing award from such a prestigious organization. Verizon has been involved with NAF since around 2013. Our CEO at the time, Lowell McAdam, really saw this as an organization and wanted to be involved, got involved with the board, and that's when we started our journey with NAF. And we've had over 500 internships with students over the years, and 100 of that this year. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But I remember my personal journey with NAF starting back in 2010 in Elizabeth, New Jersey, volunteering at one of the high schools that just got me hooked on this organization. And so, Verizon was also one of the organizations that was part of the original Future Ready Labs in partnership with a couple other partner organizations at, I believe, in 2017. And just really evolved that and saw how that has been so beneficial to the students. And I remember, you know, as I left New Jersey in my career, moved to Ohio, there wasn't a NAF that I had access to at the time. So I went to like a local high school and was like, look, I need a high school student, right? Because I saw how important it was. And that informed Liz. Last year when we partnered, we pivoted and we partnered and we did the remote Future Ready Lab. I also asked if we could pilot a one-on-one internship where we had students come in to my organization and got a couple of my peers. And we actually piloted an organization, a one-on-one internship in addition to the Future Ready Labs that expanded this year now to 100. So we've really enjoyed that partnership with NAF and really enjoyed being part of the mission to build that STEM pipeline.
And how, if you were to pinpoint, how has Verizon support evolved? It started back in 2010, you're saying with you personally,
yes, that's
right?
true.
So you were part. So how has it evolved over the past decade?
So over the years, you know, we went from not only supporting the internships, but now we have employees who are involved. We have a Verizon organization called Citizen Verizon, where we do community, we give back to the community and to organizations. And we've had over 5,000 hours of volunteer work from over 1,000 Verizon employees, and 5,000 NAF students have benefited from that. And that's in addition to other volunteer efforts that we've done. And the evolution, right? Well, one of the things that we do, we listen. So when we had the students come in last year in the pilot and in the Future Ready Lab, we asked them, what do you think? How was this? We asked our employees, what do you think? And that's when it was clear that we needed to take that pilot from 8 students last year to 100 this year. And next year, we want 200.
That's right. That's right. So as many of you heard yesterday, NAF is working on a capital campaign called Fund the Future. Why does Verizon invest in internships, and why should other companies do so as well?
It is so important, and Cece talked about this. You know, I'm a Black woman and an immigrant in a STEM field. And there is so much economic lift in this field to my family, to my community. And it's lacking in diversity, in ethnic diversity, gender diversity, and all sorts of diversity. And NAF is a perfect partner to help us build this STEM diversity pipeline, not just for Verizon, but for the industry, for the United States. And look, this is a global competition. And you look at the stats, and the United States is not always #1 when it comes to science and technology leadership. And we absolutely, to me, this is a national imperative. And this is one way for companies to like really help be part of this and tap into NAF and the mission that you have. And then the other thing is it really is a great opportunity for companies to get this leadership development for their employees. A lot of times, you know, companies underestimate the power of high school students. And so teachers, you gotta just press into that, right? Don't listen to them when they're like, yeah, you know, they're high school, they don't know. No, last year in our pilot, we had a student from NAF that could code Java and spoke French. I didn't have any engineer in my team that could code in Java and speak French and was the captain of the swim team. So there's amazing talent that NAF brings to organizations.
Thank you, Abby. So this is for both of you. Internships aren't the only experience that helps prepare students for success. Work-based learning activities help students build critical professional skills as well. What kind of activities does your company host for NAF students? Cece, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So we have a variety of different work-based learning. So for example, we will bring students to some of our manufacturing sites to see some of the advanced manufacturing and robotics and engineering. We also hold different workshops like mock interviews or how to write a resume or how to do an elevator speech or even how to create a profile on LinkedIn to start to connect and follow other companies and build your network. And we also bring in subject matter experts, so bringing in engineers to talk about what is the day in the life like as an engineer or a cyber professional. The other thing that we do is we're partnering with NAF with the first competition and really taking advantage of those grants there. And if you've been a part of the first competition, you know that there's costs involved in that. And a lot of times, not everyone can afford to go to that competition. So engaging with NAF, having those grants, getting those mentorships to go with the first competitions are some of the ways that we have the work-based learning.
Great. Abby, anything to add from Verizon's standpoint?
We do a lot of things that Cece mentioned that Raytheon does. Just a few weeks ago, we had students come into one of our network facilities in Richardson. I think there were like 49 NAF students. There were like 60 Verizon volunteers. And so that allows that one-on-one shadowing. And the students get to experience what it's like to work in a corporate environment. Because being STEM ready and having the technical skills is one piece of it. But I realized coming into the corporate world from an engineering background how unprepared I was for how do you behave in a corporate environment. How do you dress? How do you speak? How do you interact? So those are a lot of the things we do, those kinds of tours, we do mock interviews, and we have 59 Verizon employees who are also on advisory boards across the country, and they do those, volunteer for those types of events that the schools have.
Fabulous. So Abby and Cece, what experiences have you participated in that inspired you? Abby?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna try to keep this short because there's so much. I mean, just this conference alone is just so inspiring just to see the amount of people that are invested in our youth. But last year I was an advisor at the Bryan Adams School here in Dallas. And I was able to sit in on what they call a thesis defense in high school. First of all, I was like, whoa, what is this? And they're presenting their senior year presentation on what they learned and just the rigor, the excellence, the eloquence, the level of focus that both the students and the teachers and the administrators brought to that was just so inspiring. It informed now how I mentor college students and even how I mentor entry-level employees to Verizon. It's just perfect. It was just awe-inspiring.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Cece.
So what inspires me is when I look back at my career so far, one of the things that I've loved to do is to really establish and develop teams. Find different people with different passions and skill sets and experiences to work towards a common mission. But typically for me, up until getting more involved in high school students, it's been with people who already passed their college career. And what I find really inspiring is actually starting it much earlier in life and showing what is the art of the possibility. What is out there when it comes to STEM and different careers, and actually nudge and shape and move individuals towards some of those pathways. And so I love that. That's really inspired me as I get more engaged with that. The other thing is it really ties back to the Raytheon Technologies mission for me. We create solutions and capabilities to keep the world a safer place. And if you're focusing on one student, which changes that student and their family, and then that family and that community's lives, really that's an extension of helping our communities around the world thrive. And in fact, it's so important that our CEO, Greg Hayes, is on the NAF board of directors, and we have champions in NAF advisory boards in nearly all of our key significant areas at Raytheon.
So NAF is working to evolve beyond its continuum of career awareness, exploration, and preparation to better measure the skills students gain through work-based learning. How does this align with the needs of industry, and what skills are you each looking for from your future employees? Why don't we start with you first, Abby?
I will, and I just want to give a shout out to Nikki Palmer, who has been one of our champions in NAF. She's on the STEM advisory board, and she's leading an initiative in Verizon right now to think about what is that talent that we need in the future. And I'll narrow it down to two things. Software is a big part of where everything is headed. And so encouraging students to learn and be familiar and not be intimidated by anything software. And there are ways to bridge that entry. And I've seen so many creative ways to do that, from building websites to playing with some Java-like stuff to artificial intelligence, because that is a foundation for all the advanced technologies that are happening right now, like big data or data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. It all starts there with that. So I would encourage a focus in that area, but also people call this soft skills, and it really irks me because it is so important to just be kind, to be respectful, to be a good team player, to give. You know, sometimes you want your way and you can't have your way, and I need to let Liz's idea take front stage, or I need to let Cece's idea. And developing that kind of person, that kind of character is really important. And that's something that Verizon looks for. So we look for both, and I know a lot of industry leaders look for both. So those are the things that I would definitely recommend.
Thank you. Cece.
Well, you know, touching back on the Raytheon Technologies mission again about really keeping the world a safer place and solving some of the really hard challenges. I mean, some of the problems we're not even aware of yet. That way you're going to have to put creative thinkers. We need innovators. We need problem solvers. And I think I even saw some of those skills coming up in Michael Bonner's, you know, top skills list, you know, that's looking at this year. And all of those involve STEM, with the science, technology, engineering, and math especially. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is about actually helping shape the curriculum and aligning to the local hiring needs. You know, Daniel Warner mentioned yesterday that one of the stats here in Texas is we have over 100,000 cyber jobs in Texas alone that need to be filled. But just to reinforce that point, according to ISC Squared, which is one of Raytheon Technologies' corporate social responsibility partners, there's over 377,000 vacant cyber jobs in the US and 2.7 million vacant cyber jobs in globally, and that's based on a 2021 study. So those skills that Abby's mentioning, and then the critical thinking, the problem solving, the innovation, they're really important.
So what would you say to a company that was looking for solutions to develop their talent pipeline? Why is it worthwhile to partner with NAF? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I would say, Liz, to companies, be part of that solution. Be part of that solution. There is no more debating whether or not diversity actually helps innovation or not. If there's anybody that's still debating that, you're so 1980s, my favorite music here, but that is like old news. And so we need to get with the program, right? We just need to get with the program, and we need to partner with organizations, with NAF, that are embedded in the communities and in the organizations where the diverse talent lives and is hungry and is ready to have this aptitude and this skill set built. So that's my recommendation to companies. Be part of the solution and jump in there.
Gotcha.
So, you know, going back to NAF's unique model of really connecting the education with business and going into the communities and helping those that are underrepresented, you know, going back to, you need a diverse technical pipeline. If you're going to solve those toughest problems, if you're going to innovate, you need all minds coming together. Not one person knows everything, but working together, you know, that can be pretty powerful. And it also helps with eliminating those barriers. We've mentioned the barriers that females have, that you know, persons of color have coming into these educational paths. And so NAF helps us reach those communities. The other thing is going back to the work-based learning. You have to provide those opportunities, those internships, those mentorships, so that way students can make more informed choices when it comes to college and also career choices. And you know, NAF's model really helps us connect with that.
Can I add one more thing real quick?
Absolutely, Abby, go ahead.
I would would also challenge organizations that you actually have more employees than you think you have that really want to do this. And you put out that call within the organization that says, we want to do this. You are going to find employees who, you know, the work that we do is really intense, it's fast-paced, and what I've learned is as a corporate athlete, you have to find what gives you energy. And this conference, this kind of volunteer activity is what gives me energy to keep going with all these other things I have going. And your employees need that source of energy. So just put that call out and you would be surprised how many employees come forward that will find the time to get the work done. You're worried about getting the work done. They will get the work done and they will find time to give back and to do this as well. Just wanted to add that.
I'm going to add that to my pitch conversations
Please,
with partners.
tell them that it's in there.
I like that a lot. So for call to action, what words of encouragement could you each give to our educators in attendance today to take back to their academies? Cece.
Okay, so I've heard it in bits and pieces with the different conversations today, and I think you just mentioned it too, Abby, and it starts with starting small. Never let an opportunity pass by. You know, Michael Bonner talked about yesterday that innovation doesn't have to be something crazy big. It could be something very small that has this ripple effect. And I live here in Dallas, and when I was thinking about, you know, some of the inspiration I heard yesterday, it reminded me of this quote that I have on my vision board that I look at every day. And this is actually from my vision board. You can, I know you guys can't see it, but
I see it.
There's the pin mark, and it just happens to be in green, which I thought that was great for NAF colors. But
Perfect.
so the thing that I try to remember is there's this ancient proverb, and it says, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time is today. And that just reminds me that it just starts with a little seed, and you may not know where it goes in the future, but it does put good energy into the world, and it will have a positive ripple effect.
That just gave me goosebumps.
Didn't it? Yes, so good.
First of all, I'm just like, I always wanted to be a teacher, so every time I'm in the presence of teachers, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome, I just love. You know, first of all, thank you to the teachers, the educators, the administrators that are investing in America's future. That's really what you do. If you ever, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day struggle, we forget the big mission, and you are living that big mission for us.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
From a practical standpoint, what we need is what you're doing with the high school students, but the data also shows that we're losing a lot of the diverse talent in kids in middle school, right? And so I cooked up this idea when you asked this question, and that is you're developing future leaders. And maybe there's a way to tap in as you're developing the students, and maybe many of you are already doing this, but how can you pull that middle school segment along where we are losing a lot of the youth who are not exposed to STEM? And by the time they get to high school, you know, it's almost too late because they're like, oh, that's for nerds, or I don't know what that is. So that would be my request, is to figure out how we can train the students to think of themselves as leaders to give back to the children that are coming up behind them. So.
Thank you. Thank you both. And thank you to all of you here attending today.